Hi, folks. Welcome to episode 2 of Break the Cycle podcast. Thank you so much for your feedback on the first episode. Uh, Today, I'm joined by a very dear friend and colleague. I would like to introduce Zoya Wahi. She's the founder of Asli, a brand that deals in sustainable fashion, and she's been a communications professional for about
8, 9 years.
8, 9 years. Awesome. Hey, Zoya.
Hello, hi. Hello,
Hello,
namaste.
namaste. Right. So, Zoe, I'm going to start off right off the bat. What do you understand when you hear break the cycle?
Uh, well, the first thought that comes to mind is my dad laughing at me and being like, you really should buy a cycle that can deal with your weight. you know, that's like right off the bat. But this is a podcast, so you can't see me, so you don't know why that's funny. I'm big. But, okay, well.
We're keeping this one, right?
Yeah. We should totally keep it.
All right.
But break the cycle. No, man, just like shake things up once in a while. Do things differently. Do things that scare the shit out of you.
You want to elaborate a little bit?
On doing things that scare the shit out of you?
Yeah.
I'm great at it.
Oh,
I
okay.
jump into things with very little research. And by things, I also mean people.
Oh.
Everything.
Oh, boy. That's,
So-
yeah.
Yeah, it's fun. I don't think it's for everyone. I mean, there are better ways to do it.
What's the scariest thing you've done without research? Okay, what are
I-
what are the top three? Let's go with top
Well,
three.
No, I'm okay. Honestly, the scariest thing I've done it wasn't without research, but not enough understanding of the sort of implication of what I was doing was
Right.
to start a business.
Oh.
Because I was like, business, paisa, amaze. No, it doesn't work like that. You have to work in between. So I should have done a little bit more sort of like talking to people. I have no regrets.
All right.
None
That's
at
awesome.
all. I feel like when I overthink things, I don't do them. So yeah.
That is
So
true.
this strategy works for me. It doesn't work for everybody, but it works for me.
How long have you been, how long has Asli been a project that you've worked on?
So Asli, I'm actually co-founder.
Okay.
I have another friend and founder who we both work together.
Mhm.
It's been in the works from inception till now for about 2 years.
Oh, awesome.
But since a long time of it was just planning in terms of what it is that we want to do, fleshing out the idea of where we see it going.
Mhm.
A lot of paperwork that goes into it, raising some money
Mhm.
to start because it is an investment heavy sort of space to be in.
Yeah.
So yeah, 2 years, but since we've like actually been selling, retailing, talking to people about, I would say about roughly a year
Okay.
for that.
Mhm.
So 2 years.
What
in
led
all.
to you coming up with? Because I know there's a lot of talk about sustainable fashion currently, and forgive my ignorance, I've only come across it for about a year now. Rather paid attention for a year now. But yeah, what led you to move into that space specifically?
So I think it was just we happened to be at the right place at the right time in terms of even Nitij and I, who is my partner, just us coming together with the idea.
Right.
I am someone who's always been interested in, um, well, more so climate change than anything else, and the impact of the climate crisis that we will soon feel. Australia's feeling it.
Right.
If you haven't heard, you really should find out more about that situation and how bad it's gotten.
Yeah.
I've always been sort of conscious of, and I mean, I claim by no means to be any sort of eco warrior, and that's not my lifestyle. It hasn't been from the beginning, but it has been something that's always played on my mind in the sense that this is a huge issue which has been created by many people together,
Right.
and at some level, at this point, it cannot be combated by just the people. It requires serious policy action and law enforcement across the globe. But it is something that can have a really impactful start from like every person coming together to just educate themselves, do whatever little they can, and then demand policy change. So well, that was a space of interest for me. And I've always been interested in like fashion, lifestyle,
Right.
styling, things like that. I mean, one of the interesting things that happens when you don't fit into the regular mold of society is that you have to make your own sort of way around, and especially when it comes to like fashion, dressing, styling.
Right.
So you have to figure out what works. So it's always been interesting, fascinating. I've always wanted to sort of be in the lifestyle space, and it just happened to work. Nitij is a policy person, and his interest is climate policy.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, and well, Asli was born per chance because we happened to kind of discuss all of these things together,
Right.
and then we realized how there are a lot of locally produced, ethically sourced, sustainably sort of manufactured um, fabrics that are available,
Right.
which people don't know enough about. So there's obviously a dearth of consumption. So, and we found out more about that because at that point in time, Nitish was living in Nepal,
Okay.
and I happened to visit him.
All right.
And the idea was actually born out of post the Nepal earthquake,
Oh,
where the initial idea was to do some sort of rehabilitation work,
okay.
but not in terms of just donation,
Right.
re-employment, because it's longer impact. It's better for the economy, and especially re-employment of women, because
Right, yeah.
they're often the hardest hit in this sort of circumstance.
Mm-hmm.
And then we came across, like, if could we buy something and then sell it further and buy it at a fair price, and
Right.
make sure everyone gets their due. And then if we were to do that, what would it be? Because we do care about responsible consumption.
Mm-hmm.
So Asli's, if you see the things that we have a very limited capsule collection. We don't expect people to buy 25 things in one checkout.
Right.
We don't think anyone should buy like that. Consumption has to be responsible. Economies have to move to be more circular.
Yeah.
And that's the only way we'll sort of move forward with any sort of climate impact. So it was actually a bunch of things happening, and it just happened to all be at the sort of right time, right space, right sort of thought process. And
Yeah.
we luckily happened to be two people who were thinking very alike. So
Awesome.
it worked out.
Yay.
Yay.
There's an interesting point that you brought up about consumption specifically. So I noticed that we are, and again, I've just started paying attention now, and I'm not afraid to admit that, at least now, that we do have, I think we've been conditioned to acquire and consume,
Yeah.
but without really giving it much thought.
Well, you know who to blame. Capitalism. Yay.
Yay. No, so specifically on that front, so could you elaborate more on, say, sustainable fashion? How is it different? What are the consumption patterns that we're talking about here? Because I believe that, I mean, when it comes to specifically from an acquiring of clothes perspective, I couldn't think of a fancier sentence, but anyway, we go to we typically buy because brand as opposed to material or look and feel.
Well, it depends. There are different sort of triggers. Some people buy because brand, and I just want to own a Zara coat.
Right.
Right. A lot of people buy like that. A lot of people just buy because it's so cheap I couldn't let it go. Right. There are many different sort of motivations and triggers to buy. By no means am I an expert in sustainable fashion yet.
Right.
This is it's a huge space, and I have very limited understanding, and I have no shame in admitting that I'm learning along the way and willing to change and adapt and, grow in terms of whatever will lead to a more planet positive sort of approach and lifestyle. But so the whole idea for us at Asli, at least in terms of sustainable fashion, is that think the whole supply chain to consumption, like the whole cycle through. Is it produced in a way that does minimal sort of harm and impact to the resources that are being consumed? So for example, we are trying very hard to move away from things that use cotton, even though a lot of our sort of fabrics are cotton blends to make them more wearable, comfortable, longer lasting. That the attempt is to move further and further away from cotton. Because while people say organic cotton is really good and it's sustainable and all of that, sure, organic cotton is better than any sort of BT cotton you will get, and it doesn't use the pesticides and all, but it is one of the thirstiest plants. And we are very quickly running out of water that can be used for that irrigation.
Yeah.
So cotton is great and it's sustainable, and
I did not know that.
yeah, cotton is actually a very thirsty plant, so and it's also not very easily recycled. Like if it tears, if it rips, it shreds in a way that it's harder to sort of recycle. Like silk is far easier recycled.
Oh, okay.
Again, not super sustainably produced, right?
Yeah.
Because especially if you're an animal activist or a vegan, like you would morally be opposed to consumption of silk. But so cotton is a difficult sort of it's so integrated into our lifestyle also. It's also that it's that abuse. You find one thing and it works, and then you abuse it all around the world and you drag it to a point where it becomes unsustainable. It's like milk production, right? If everyone was to stop having milk when we were kids, a lot of cows would be far better off than they are now.
I agree.
You know, and I mean, I'm happy to kind of learn more about this subject. But so sustainable fashion, sustainable consumption is essentially thinking the whole sort of cycle through. Where is the material being produced? Is it being produced in environments that is conducive to create most minimal environmental impact?
Right.
So we work with hemp and bamboo, and we work with the regions where hemp and bamboo grows easily, right?
Okay.
So we work. So if we work in the Himalayan sort of region where all of this grows, so we work with this fiber called nettle.
Right.
Which is largely found in very high altitude mountain areas. It's called, the fiber that we're working with comes from a plant called the Great Himalayan Stinging Nettle.
Okay.
It's mostly found in the Nepal and Uttarakhand region. There are other strains and varieties of it found around the world, but this particular one is found there. And it's very sustainably produced because it's literally a weed that grows anywhere.
Okay.
Right? And then you can turn it into, it's used to cook. So the local communities make saag out of it. It's used to make tea.
Okay.
It's used obviously to make sort of apparel, fiber. It's used to make rope.
Okay.
So it's something that's very easily available. It's easy to treat.
Right.
It grows in abundance. So you do need to get rid of it.
Yeah.
And then you can use it in multiple different ways.
Okay.
And that's the production part of it. And then sustainable consumption also means slow consumption and being conscious of your buying decision. So we don't want you to buy 10,000 things from us. We don't even sell 10,000 things.
Right.
We sell 3 things, 4 things that one person could possibly acquire as of now. Buy them, use them till they are done to death. Right? Okay. And if the quality is shit, we would be happy to address that. But think about how you can reuse, think about how you can recycle. We haven't figured it out yet, but there are also brands that are now getting into the space of sort of circular consumption where you buy something from them and then you exchange it with them.
Oh.
So it goes back into the same ecosystem and it gets refurbished and reused. Right? A lot of our, I remember when we were growing up,
right,
a lot of our stuff used to be hand-me-downs.
Yeah.
We just lived on hand-me-downs. Obviously,
pretty much.
My sister lived on my hand-me-downs because I was bigger than her. Always. But you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah. Right. So we lived on hand-me-downs, but I don't hear of that
anymore. Yeah.
It's very rare. From what I know of and talk to people, we've gone into this culture of sort of use and throw, which seems to be far more Western than what we at least grew up with, right? For us, even if an electrical appliance wasn't working. Like I know people, including my own father, who would save a fused light bulb because they might be able to do something with it someday, turn it into like a flower holder or like something.
Something
right?
that you can...
So we've never, at least from whatever limited exposure I haven't seen a culture which is very use and throw and very like use, throw and buy something new immediately.
Right. You think that's because we've just become, things have just become more easy to acquire? Like the buying capacity is increased or something like that?
I honestly don't know if that, I would attribute it to that. It's also maybe we live in our own privilege, right? So for us, things are easier to acquire because we're part of that sort of generation that saw the financial boom and our parents did well and we have the money acquired. So I don't know if that is entirely the cause. I think people are just selling more as well. right?
Yeah.
Like there
Yeah.
is marketing has never been as crazy as it used to be. It's never, it's
Yeah.
insane. Like from diet pills to gummy bear hair vitamins to
Oh
like
lordy. Yeah.
like what is it that you can't buy? I can go on the dark web and literally buy an axe murderer. Not that I know anything about this or I'm like going to ever do that, just disclaimer. But like literally,
Yeah.
what
We're all
can't you
same
buy?
people, folks.
Yeah, what
Yeah.
can't you buy? You can buy anything,
Yeah.
right? So it's access, it's this overload of information.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just cultural change over a period of time of like maybe so that's the thing. I've recently come to realize the joy of sort of making things,
Mm-hmm.
and that also includes mending things.
Uh-huh.
And I think a lot of us don't do that anymore.
Yeah. We're just like, oh, it's broken. Let's
Yeah,
throw it out.
yeah. So that for me has been an interesting sort of shift in my own headspace and
Right.
breaking the cycle of buying things. I was quite an hardcore like shopping person, and
Yeah.
never something significant. It would be little things like
Right.
a phone cover
Okay.
or like a t-shirt, but something every sort of week.
A week.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I would go on these like AliExpress and stuff and just be like, oh,
Yeah.
wow, $1 phone cover. Let's buy 3. Nobody needs 3 phone covers. Nobody.
Nobody.
And it's so liberating once you realize you can live with less. I think it's a very shady, I'm such a Princess Marie Kondo thing to say, but it is. It genuinely is. When you realize that you can live with less,
Yeah.
it just gives you more space to play.
Yeah, there's this
So-
whole thing of minimalism doing rounds, like a minimalist lifestyle doing rounds now, where they're like a lot of people are getting rid of. You have a big house, you just go to what you require as opposed to what you just like those displays of
Yeah.
grandeur, in a way.
Yeah, but I also feel like I really hope it isn't, but to me it also feels a little bit like a fad.
Mm-hmm.
Like at one point of time, everyone wanted crystal in their house, and everyone had
Yeah.
cut glass and crystal and all of these those really expensive ceramic
Yeah,
things.
the
Not
showpieces.
showpieces, yeah. And now everyone's like, I don't want to own any crystal ever. Everything's so minimal.
Uh-huh.
And I honestly like minimal because I am literally like a bull in a china shop. So I break things. Minimal is great for me.
No,
So
it makes sense.
yeah, no, but it's so I realized this winter I didn't open my box bed at all. I have 2 suitcases full of clothes for
Right.
winter that I'd packed away last year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the hell is in those boxes. I haven't had the need to open them. We're sitting in January.
Wow.
I'm just gonna give away those 2 whole suitcases. Like if I haven't touched it in a year and a half,
Yeah, I don't
it
think you
really
need it.
doesn't hold meaning for me.
Yeah.
So why am I collecting garbage? But also it's not garbage. It can be recycled. So I'm not gonna throw it away.
That's a PSA,
Yeah,
folks.
PSA. It was so heartwarming. Recently, I saw this, friend / acquaintance, sort of someone I've known earlier,
Yeah.
put up this post on Facebook saying, hey, so I'm in Pune. If anyone has jeans in the size of like waist size this to this, would
Yeah.
you mind giving them to me if you're done wearing them?
Wow.
And I was like, my first thought was like, why is this person, like, is she okay? Does she need help, like a job or something?
Oh.
That was my first immediate
Whoa.
thought, that because I knew like she's taking time off and is on a sabbatical and just
Mhm.
doing her own thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, does she need help? Because I'm happy to sort of,
Yeah.
help with work or money or whatever it is. And then I was like, no, this person just like is living the things that I'm just talking about. अब
Yeah.
वो अलग बात है, मेरे को किसी की jeans fit नहीं आती, but like you know what I mean. And there were so many people on that post who were like, this is so great.
Uh-huh.
Take 3 from me.
Whoa.
And ultimately, like, she had to put up a posting, guys. I'm one person.
Wow.
2 pairs of jeans will get me through a year. So thank you, but like let's start this exchange between all of us.
Yeah.
And, let's see if we can just trade wardrobes. And it was
Man, that's
lovely. It was brilliant.
That's a beautiful way to go about
Yeah.
this. You think we want to start that around our circle at some point?
Yeah, a lot of people. It's a major thing that's growing. A lot of people have started this whole concept of like just swapping things. There are these are swapping parties of a whole different kind than what
Yeah.
we have previously been acquainted with, where you just show up with your stuff and you
Right.
just trade it for other stuff or give it away, like earrings you're not wearing or clothes that you haven't touched in a year or just things you don't want and someone else might.
Wow.
So it's happening. A lot of it is happening, and like I was saying, there are brands who are also kind of getting in on this, where they're like, okay, you bring us this and we'll refurbish it,
Right. Yeah.
sell it further, or give it away.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, that's circularity, which is like the last piece in the sort of puzzle of sustainability, because you cannot be sustainable if you don't slow down consumption.
Right.
Like consumption in its purest form, the way we're used to it, will never let us be sustainable.
Yeah.
So
Constantly acquiring.
yeah, buy less, buy smarter, buy things that you will really like and enjoy and will work for you, and then figure out a way to make them last, whether it's for yourself or someone else or in some other shape or form.
There, folks, make a conscious decision.
Yeah.
Can't stress that enough. Thanks for that, Zoe. Okay, now I want to move into something a little more personal, because we've spoken about breaking the cycle in general, but let's talk about the cycles you've broken, if you're okay with that.
The cycles I've broken.
And I don't mean the ones that your dad was referring to.
Well, those
Yeah.
have so far just been chairs.
Okay,
The
then.
cycles that I've broken,
Yeah.
metaphorically.
Yeah.
Well, I'm on the path to break the cycle of intense self-loathing.
Whoa.
It's taken me a lot of work and effort. It still does. And yeah, I think that's a cycle I'm closer than, well, to changing, maybe not breaking just yet. But yeah. So
Self-loathing.
it comes from a the humor is, as I'm told by my therapist, a shield.
Oh. Okay.
Go figure. But
Yeah.
so you know how it is. Everyone has their sort of weird headspace to deal with, and mine
Yeah.
is this constant feeling of just never being good enough for myself. So I decided to just be nicer and kinder to myself, and that's a really sort of, I'm realizing, a hard cycle to break, to kind of go get out of this headspace of, if you wouldn't have done this, then this wouldn't have happened. Because
No.
I mean, if I don't hold anyone else to as nasty a standard,
Oh boy.
so it's an interesting space. Which has also helped me break the cycle of serial dating.
Serial dating.
Yeah, man.
Oh man.
It's,
All right.
I'm okay, I don't think I should. I'm not taking a break right now. I was till 2 days ago. I was taking a break till 2 days ago.
Okay then.
But yeah, I went through this like intense phase of just like meeting men after men for validation, and it doesn't work. Surprise! You gotta like yourself.
Yeah.
So that's been a journey.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's been interesting. It's fun. I met some really nice people though.
Uh-huh.
Not nice enough, obviously. But,
Yeah. Okay.
but I mean, you know.
I want to talk about that the previous bit for a second. So I had a similar experience when it came to self-loathing, and that obviously is something that led to me discovering the things that we're all literally talking about now, which is the whole notion of self-love and self-care and things of that sort. Where has that kind of, I mean, how far or how much of it do you think that you're kind of looking into?
I don't know how to sort of quantify or qualify it, but I'm beginning to identify patterns of behavior
Yeah.
and try and change them a little bit. And if that qualifies as self-care, then sure, I'm super invested in self-care. But I don't know, honestly. It's not something it's something I very recently started consciously thinking about. And I don't know how I see myself dealing with this in even the next like 2 months.
Right.
But I think I have to. The one thing that I do is I keep reminding myself that I have to be nicer to myself, and that I'm allowed to make mistakes, and that doesn't make me the worst sort of person who's going to end up being a complete and total failure.
Yeah.
Just everyday things. So yeah, so I do simple things like I paint. I've never picked up a paintbrush in my life. I'm 30. I've never picked up a paintbrush in my life for the last 29 years.
Whoa.
I always wanted to. I always thought I want to have some fun with paints. I never knew what I wanted to do. And then one day I was just like, meh, I'm going to try. I can afford paints. And then I can afford to waste them without anyone ever finding out. And so I decided to start doing that. And it's amazingly therapeutic. Because I think that's the one thing that I do which I don't do for anybody else. Like, I don't do it for any validation. I don't even show it to anyone usually. I don't...
Yeah, you never brought up the whole painting bit.
Yeah, I don't talk about it really because it's for no one other than me.
Yeah.
And that kind of helped me just be like, if this is an ugly picture, it's fine because no one other than me is judging. And then I had to work really hard on not judging. Yeah. Because I was like, it's ugly, but I'm not Picasso. So it can be. And quite frankly, have you seen Picasso's? Like, I know I'm shit, but a lot of people out there are much worse.
Damn.
So,
okay.
So yeah, the sass helps me get by. Does my sass look big in this?
Okay then. No, but I'm glad that at least the sass didn't come in the way of the vulnerability. Which leads me to the next point. Like, how comfortable... I mean, it's a stupid question because you're on a podcast and you're talking about this, but what are your views on vulnerability? Because I've had a lot of interactions with people where everyone views being vulnerable as a sign of weakness. And they're just like, no, I mean, I understand protecting yourself and protecting your space and everything, but you kind of that wall just builds up in front of everyone, and you're like, I don't want to be vulnerable because I got didn't have a good experience with it.
I'm just too stupid emotional to like keep that wall up for very long. I pretend. So much I pretend that I'm such a hero and nothing bothers me, and I'm so like, I'm the cool girl.
But you are.
मेरा हर 5 मिनट में दिल टूटता है. Literally. No, so I'm beginning to realize that it's so much effort to keep a face on, and I have done it for so many years, just to keep this face on of being completely unaffected by things. And don't get me wrong, it's great. It's really worked out super well for me. It's been great till now. But it's so fucking tiring. Can I say fucking?
Of course.
Sorry.
Please.
It's so tiring, dude. I want to spend my energy on being creative and being happy and being playful and just being mad. And I don't want to spend my energy on being guarded. And that's not to say I've changed very much. But at least I have the realization now.
Yeah.
And
hey, that's a step, man.
It's a step. Yeah, it's a process. I'm still pretty guarded in front of most people. I think it's also for me being a woman in a professional setting.
Right.
That comes with its own baggage. And being like, I did fairly well at a young age.
Right.
And it requires you to have a certain sort of wall up to taken seriously, and you can't be, at least for me, I couldn't be my hyper emotional self
Right.
or hypersensitive self in front of most people, because people tend to, for you it may not be weakness, but people tend to perceive it as that, and then you're trying to get by life as a woman who's a professional and has a side hustle and 10,000 things, and you're also very strong minded about what you want. And I mean, the whole equation with men is like a whole different piece to navigate. So I do feel vulnerability in that sort of sense takes a hit, because you're trying to really just protect your own interest. But I don't know, I suppose you have to find a balance and figure out a way to let the people you like in. It's hard.
Now, you spoke about balance, and that brings me to my next question, which is you just mentioned you're a professional and you have a side hustle with Asli.
I mean, hustle. Professional is side hustle now.
So, yeah, I want to talk to you about that. Like, how have you. Because, I mean, there's this whole. You got two camps, at least the kind of people I've met. There's one side that says, no, your job. Right? There's the safety of a job, or safety of being a professional. And if you need to get into. Yes, everyone agrees you need to do something that you like doing, but, go for the job.
Yeah.
And there are other folks who, if you're an entrepreneur, then you're just an entrepreneur. And slowly now I see a lot of people kind of going into side hustles as well in a more open manner, where they're not, by a side hustle, I don't mean, and by no means am I discounting this, but going into something that will be a little lighter. So, for example, teaching is relatively teaching is relatively lighter when it comes to as opposed to kind of building an entire brand.
Yeah, I mean, depends. All of this actually depends on how much time and effort you want to commit, right? You could be a full-time teacher and work from like 6 a.m. till 6 p.m.
Of course,
and that's as intense a job as any. Or you could be a tuition teacher and do it twice a week for 3 hours, and that's completely your choice. And then your hustle kind of depends on how much time and effort you are putting into that. But sorry, what was your question?
How are you balancing it out?
I'm not.
Oh, okay.
No, okay. Well, the simple answer is that I didn't have the luxury of financial stability to do either one thing full time.
Okay.
Like, I know a job and the prospects that it has and what it offers will satisfy me only to a certain extent, which is why I wanted to try something different.
Right.
Personal. So I feel like with Asli, I have somehow managed to, and I hope it continues, but for now, I somehow feel like I have managed to bring my professional, like what I want professionally and what I want as a purpose in life together. And I hope it continues to be that. So I did not have the financial sort of stability to jump into it full time and be like, I'm just going to do this.
Right.
And I also don't, I need the job for the money, and I actually like my job very much, and I really like the people that I work with, and I really enjoy it. And so it's more and more, I feel like more people are also being able to do that. And I honestly was also just able to do that because workplaces are becoming more flexible and friendly to things like that.
Right.
Like, people know that when you do different things, your mind grows, your skill set develops, you're thinking about life in a different way. And it's really amazing that employers and team members and bosses are becoming more open to that whole sort of approach. Workplaces are more and more becoming less structured in their whole 9 to 5 sort of come sit here even if you don't have work and do just this thing. At least whatever workplaces I have had the fortune to deal with, and trust me, I have no sort of qualms in admitting that I come from great privilege and have some of the best bosses that genuinely a person could ever sort of hope to have.
We both agree on that one.
Yeah, so I think that's it, at least for our sort of company and our generation of people and the kind of circles we move around in. That's been a major factor where people are okay with you trying different things. And I think the judgment of failure is much less harsh than it would have been for our parents.
Mm-hmm.
At least I feel like there's much less judgment where if you fail,
Yeah.
you know, not everything is geared to success. Some things are just geared to learning and growing,
Mm-hmm.
which makes it so much more fun to sort of try something new.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so how I maintain the balance by like actually genuinely enjoying both the things that I do.
Uh-huh.
I really like. I mean, there are days when, I mean, you've seen me. There are
Yeah.
just days when I want to die and murder someone all simultaneously. Dark web and
Yeah.
whatnot.
Axe murderer.
Axe
It
murder on the
seems.
dark web. uh,
No, we're still not psychotic, folks.
no,
Yeah.
it's fine.
Yeah.
This is a joke. I've never wanted to hack someone's head off with an axe.
Yeah. Yeah. You wanted to kick my ass though once. Yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
Almost.
Almost.
I did. But yeah, so balance. Well, one has been that. So I've had people in the team, younger people, colleagues, 1 year, 6 months into the job, come and ask me, what do you do about work-life balance? And I may be one of those, like, I honestly also I don't think I'm the best person to take advice on for this, because other parts of my life have really taken a hit
Right.
because of the professional part of my life. But I do feel like, okay, let me go step by step. So people have come to me and asked me what I do for work-life balance, and quite honestly, I don't separate work and life.
Right.
Work is a part of life, and I really like work. I really like it. I enjoy it. And so for me, it's never been work-life balance. It's been like, I don't know what people mean when they talk about work-life balance, because you're talking as if work is in life. I mean, we spend literally 10 to 12 hours with the same people in the same space 5 days a week, and I've been doing it week after week for like over 6 years now. So it is life, and it's pretty balanced. I mean, I have a breakfast, I have a lunch, I have my weekends, I meet my friends, I hang out with people I like. For me, it's fairly, like, it's not been. I've had some really crazy months where I have just been working. Like, I've gone through a full year without taking a vacation or a break.
Oh, damn.
But I didn't hate my life, and and so that brings me to my second point, where I do feel like I'm bad for this sort of advice for anyone to go by, because I don't think, like, most people my age are settled in the very traditional sense of like married and having kids, and the traditional sort of understanding of settled. I'm not to say that I am feeling unsettled at all, but I don't think that's my purpose in life. I wasn't born to do that. I don't think that's what. Not to say that I don't want it, or it's not something that I've never thought about, or I'm in any way averse to that whole idea of family life. But I just feel like that's never been my idea of like the be all and end all.
Right.
I have bigger things, the things that are bigger for me to achieve. I have a purpose to fulfill, and I feel like my satisfaction will come from a completely different sort of space at this point of time in my life. And that's not to say my mind won't change at some point.
Right.
But for me, that's balance, right? I am doing the thing that gives me happiness, and then everything else takes a bit of a hit, but I'm fine with that trade-off. Like, I met someone yesterday who basically, and someone much older, who basically just told me that, sort that part of, like, make a relationship. It's very unromantic and very cynical and very, very pragmatic. But I was told to make romance like food. Like
food.
Yeah, like, so on some days you want to eat a burger,
Right.
and you will,
Yeah.
and that's great. And on some days you'll just eat roti sabzi that's at home, and that's just survival, right? So find a partner, find someone who will just sort out that part of your life, and you don't have, and put it on autopilot. And then work on what you think is greatness. Right? Because for me, building a home and a family, and by no means do I think that's not a great thing. It's just not.
It's not for you.
What would make me feel like I'm working towards greatness. So I found that very interesting very cynical, very, very cynical advice. I probably will not take it
Uh-huh.
in that form, but it's an interesting sort of way to think about
Yeah.
whatever your purpose is, and then everything else that is paraphernalia around it.
Mm-hmm. So centering your life around that one thing,
I
that one
suppose,
purpose, essentially.
yeah, I suppose so, and I mean that could help achieve some semblance of balance.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Right. So that's not. I mean, it's not like an either or. You can still do both if you choose to.
both like two jobs.
No, like the job and the I mean, okay, that,
Well, like
it
the
is
job and
practically
the
two
relation-
jobs.
The
It is
job and
practi-
the relation. Of
I
course
think the
you
job
can
and the
do both.
relationship is like
Yeah,
a
it's like two
throughout thing,
jobs.
but I mean,
No,
like the
of
brand
course
and
you
the
can do both, of
Yeah.
course. But and I mean, there are so many. Like, literally, I've been surrounded by people
Mhm.
who do that.
Yeah.
I just feel like for me, and I think maybe this is true for everyone. At some point, something will be priority,
Mhm.
and at some point, something won't be.
Mhm.
And you have to be comfortable knowing that that is your sense of balance. So like if you're having kids and you want to give up your career for that time, or completely and entirely,
Mhm.
and you just want to focus on bringing up your children, and that's your purpose, that's perfect.
Mhm.
Like that's where you should find balance from,
Yeah.
right? And if you're like me and you have like a -100 maternal instinct and you literally cannot stand,
That's a lie, folks.
it's
Hey,
Well,
I've seen you with. I've
I
seen
like
you
my
with
niece.
the. Huh?
I like my niece. It's the
Yeah.
only baby I sort of. Okay, no, come on. I don't hate babies. I just think they're nice, very, very far away from me.
What do you call? What do you like? I mean, we have
Catapult?
younger team members. You're very maternal with them.
I'm not maternal. I'm not maternal.
In a
with them.
way.
I'm.
In a way.
Don't put me on the spot. I'm protective of people I like, but that goes without age. I'm just protective of people I like. But
That makes sense. Sorry, guys. I mean, the maternal thing was just me flying off the rocker.
Right.
But
But yeah, so purpose is and honestly it keeps changing.
uh-huh.
For the longest time I wanted to be a full on Fauji wife.
Ooh.
Like give up everything, go live in a jungle,
Whoa.
host ladies clubs.
Zoe, I did not see that coming.
Yeah, so I've done that. I mean, I've been in that headspace. I've
Uh-huh.
also been in the headspace where I was like, I'm gonna marry this other boy who has like, I would be the youngest of like 13 family members or some shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
And go into full Tulsi Virani mode and just make chai for everyone. And then like part of me is like, I'm gonna start adding arsenic to that chai slowly every day because this is clearly not for me. So
And she says she's not an axe murderer.
so yeah, I've my purpose has changed quite a bit. I feel far more at peace now than before.
Mhm.
So maybe I'm doing something right, but you know, who knows? Maybe this switch will flip in another 6 months, and I'll just be like, "Kranti karni hai mujhe." I'm part of the revolution.
Uh-huh.
So, and that kind of circles back to self-love, where I've just decided that if that happens, I'm going to be fine with it. I mean,
That's awesome.
I'm going to put my best foot forward towards Kranti, and let's see how that goes.
We'll change the world.
Yes, comrade, it's happening.
It's happening. All right, Zoe. So my second last question. Where can these people find you if they want to interact with you? If you're comfortable sharing.
Oh, घर मत आना. कपड़े पड़े होते हैं सब जगह. That I'm trying to get rid of. Where can they find me? I am on Twitter,
Mm-hmm.
fairly active.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on Instagram. I have a public profile, again fairly active. You can search by my name,
Mm-hmm.
and I should show up. I'm on Facebook. I prefer not to interact with people on Facebook, though I'm trying to I'm just bored of it. I kind of stay away from it.
Right.
Number, matlab,
No.
I don't know how
No.
many
What
people
about
are listening to this podcast. Aadhar.
No.
I
What
don't wanna
about
give
okay?
my
No.
number.
No.
And honestly, if it's work related, or like if you want to know more about sustainability or how we think about it and what Asli is all about, then asli.in is our website, and we're by the same name on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, anywhere, fully active. So basically, I'm a fairly social animal.
Mm-hmm.
You can find me by my name on most social sort of platforms, including LinkedIn,
Mm-hmm.
and you can find Asli by the name of asli.in, again, online anywhere,
Mm-hmm.
Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, the website.
Right. That's
And
ASLEE. Right.
Yeah, ASLEE.in.
Mm-hmm.
And don't try ASLI, you will not find me. I don't know what that is. Aslai. Okay. Lee like Bruce Lee.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm online. I'm on Mumble, Tinder, Hinge, all of that stupid shit as well. Don't find me there. Don't find me there. At least you'll have a fun conversation, if nothing else.
Uh-huh.
So
Right.
yeah.
So now my last question. What are the 3 things you want people to take away from this? Or one, or whatever.
It's important to be nice to yourself, because that's the only way you'll be okay failing, and will try more things. And I mean, that's sort of the easiest way to grow and learn. So it all kind of like, it's all one big cycle, and it ties into itself. And the part that's missing for most people, and was missing for me for the longest time, and still is to quite an extent, is just go easy on yourself, man. It's fine to fuck it up once in a while. Like my whole sort of practice for 2020 is just gonna be like living with this thing of what's the worst that can happen. Literally, what is the worst that can happen? And if that's something you can live with and get by with, and you won't feel like dying, then maybe it's worth taking that chance once in a while, because I mean, you're taking that chance on yourself. So that be nice to yourself. It's really hard, trust me, I know. And I don't know if it's doable, quite honestly. I really don't. But it seems like good advice. My therapist approves it. So
we might have to bring a therapist on board.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, also I recently got told that don't minimize everything that happens to you. So I feel like maybe that's important advice. Why I'm turning this into like a usne ye bola tha, to I think ye achhi advice hogi. No. Okay, be nice to yourself. Consume consciously. Think about what you're consuming. Like, buy locally. You don't haggle when you go to a Zara. Don't try not to haggle when you go to your local mandi. Try not to. I mean, everyone in the world is trying to overcharge you. But see where it's okay to let those 10-15 rupees go, because you're supporting something that's local and sustainable and ethical. If it is, I mean, not to say that all the mandis are, but trust me, they're far more ethical than any like sort of big corporate brand you'll come across. I think those are my 2 key takeaways. Like, just be more conscious of everything that you consume, in terms of information, in terms of products, in terms of any sort of anything in life that you're putting into, like putting your head and effort into. Just be conscious of what it's adding to you and what it's taking away from the world. And be kind, be nice. Start with yourself and then work your way outwards. Other people can always deal with your nastiness much more easily than you can. I've tried it.
This is Zoya approved.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, Zoya. This has been
welcome.
A wonderful conversation.
It was fun. I hope most of it doesn't get edited. I also didn't give gali, yeah. I'm so proud of my very once.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of myself.
So am I.
Otherwise, I'm just peppering conversations with all sorts of colorful cuss words. So I've been spending time with family. It's showing. Yeah.
And no, none of this gets edited out.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Right. Thank you so much, folks, for joining in. If you haven't, check out this podcast. If you've heard the first one with Vijay Raj Singh, you'll get an understanding of what we're trying to do here. Thank you so much again to Zoya Wahi for being a guest here. We're going to try and bring you more conversations from more people across walks of life. So you can check us out on Spotify, where we're on the SVTV podcasts handle. Look for Break the Cycle, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.